I predicted there would be no music there because I could see something on my computer. I do want to point out we're waiting for a call from Representative Raul Labrador, who made the announcement actually at his in-laws' home last night that he would be running for governor. We had known that this was coming because 2 weeks ago he had filed the paperwork, which you have to do, of course, in advance, and then just said there'd be a more formal announcement coming. And Boise last night with relatives. Then he'll be in Post Falls today, and then he is scheduled to be in Idaho Falls. Quick note about the trip to Idaho Falls, and that is, from what we understand, he is going to be making an appearance at some property that is owned by Frank Vandersloot, but Mr. Vandersloot is not making any endorsements because the property can be rented out. So it was rented for the announcement, which allows then the candidate to be there, but without
Endorsements.
the endorsement. By the way, Steve Millington is in the studio with us too as well.
I'm just sitting here listening, and being we're a little bit short on our invited guest, why we'll just keep talking, and as soon as the phone rings, we'll hope that's him.
And I think it is. We should point out too as well that we have an opportunity on a rare occasion to talk to candidates, and we look forward to those. And I believe that we are joined by Representative Labrador. Good morning, sir. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I just want to point out Steve Millington is in the studio with me as well, and I was just commenting to him that the first time that I ever met you in person, Steve did the introduction. So small world here.
Yes. Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
Good morning, Congressman. How are you today?
I am doing very well.
You're on your way to Post Falls, as I understand it today. So this is a three-legged stool, if you will, when it comes to this announcement. But it seems that just the scope, the size of the state geographically, you're trying to get to a number of different spots to meet with a number of different people with the announcement.
That's absolutely right. So we're starting the campaign, kicking off the campaign. We kicked it off yesterday in my wife's backyard, actually. My wife comes from a generations of Idahoans, and she was born and raised in Idaho. And I actually met her when I was very young, and I fell in love with her, and I fell in love with Idaho, and that's when my passion for Idaho began, and it began in her backyard. So we decided to kick off the campaign in her backyard, and that was really exciting. It's where her father and mother raised 11 children, and it's a wonderful family. Today we're going to be flying to Post Falls, in the Coeur d'Alene area up there, and we're kicking off there. And then tomorrow we're going to be in Idaho Falls. And then the next few months we'll be traveling the state. You know, this is just the beginning of the campaign. We have a year to go, and we're going to be traveling all over the state. So we hope to get to Twin Falls in the next few months.
A lot of people have said, why did you wait so long? Because there's so many other names that have jumped in. Was that part of a strategy that you didn't feel that you had to rush into this?
Yeah, I never felt that I had to rush into this. I think the people of Idaho were kind of tired of campaigning. You know, if you think about it, we just had a major national campaign for president. We had some pretty good campaigns for in the my reelection, Mike Simpson's reelection. You had Senator Crapo, and I just wanted to give people a chance to kind of breathe. I think everybody just got in a little bit too early, but that's fine. That was their prerogative. But I think I had enough time. I think we still have a year. The primary is not for another year. We have plenty of time to share our vision, our passion, our ideas with the people of Idaho, and the people of Idaho will make the right choice. I'm hoping that they can give me this opportunity. They've been really good to me in the past, and they've given me some amazing opportunities to serve them. And I hope to earn their trust and their respect and their vote in this upcoming primary.
We've got about a minute before the first break, and as I understand it, you're going to stay with us until pretty close to 10 o'clock this morning.
Correct.
Polling data I happen to see reported in the Times News here in Twin Falls shows that at the moment you're the number one choice among all Idaho voters and even more so among Republican voters. I guess the challenge is just to maintain that lead for 12 months.
Yeah, our polling there, we have seen polls for the last year. We feel really strong about it. This latest poll that came out, you should take it with a grain of salt. They have not been accurate in the past, so I don't know that I would really follow. You know, it said that the race was a little bit close. it's not that close. If you look at really good polls that have been, uh, reliable in the past, I have a pretty good lead. But you're absolutely right, Bill. You can't relax. You need to always run hard, and you need to earn the votes of the people. That's the number one thing, is to make sure that every day you're doing what's necessary to earn the votes of everyday Idahoans.
We've got a short break. Representative, stay on the line with us. We'll take a short break here, and then we have more coming up with Representative Raul Labrador, who is now officially a candidate for governor in Idaho, and that's on the way. We're at 8:40, and I've got 67. Steve Millington is in the studio with us too as well. Bill Colley on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. We didn't think we'd have music again in this segment because the computer, for some reason, is skipping it today. And Steve still refuses to actually break out into song to give me that little transition from the commercial breaks. But our guest in this segment of the program is Representative Raul Labrador, who is now officially running for governor in the state of Idaho. He's one of 4 announced Republicans. I guess there's a 5th candidate, but
yeah, there is a 5th one out there, but he's not a real contender, I don't think.
And it may not be throughout all of this. But first of all, Representative, Steve had a quick question for you, a very open-ended question as well.
Congressman, just a quick idea. We're talking now about Idaho issues rather than the national scene. And so as you look across Idaho, what are the major issues that you see that Idaho is going to have to face and solve over the next 4 to 8 years?
That's a great question. Before I answer your question, though, just make sure, if you want me to win this election, never ask me to sing during any segment. Because I will lose votes like crazy if I start singing.
That's one of the reasons why I'm not singing as well.
But no, there's various issues that you can think about. Number one is our education. Our school system is falling behind. We have great teachers, great parents, great students, but we can achieve more, we can do more. We have to get rid of Common Core, and we have to start thinking about how we can educate our kids for the future, for the jobs of the future. We have I have 5 kids who have gone through the school system. 2 are still in high school. And I want every Idaho child, every Idaho student to have the best education possible. We have the ability and possibility to become the best education system in the United States. We should be the envy of the United States, and I think we can do more. The number 2 issue that I worry about a lot is the future of Idaho, the growth of Idaho. We think about, we're creating jobs in Idaho. You guys are doing pretty well in Twin Falls, but we're not really creating all the jobs that are necessary to bring our kids back. I have 3 kids in college right now, and I'm worried about whether there's going to be opportunities for them in the future, whether they're going to have to move out of the state. They all want to live in the state. They all want to live close to home, but they need to look for opportunities for themselves and their family. We want to make sure that every child can achieve their dreams and has the opportunity to do the best that they can, so they can have good growth and opportunities. We look at the types of jobs that are being created. We don't have a lot of 21st century jobs being created in Idaho. We don't have the jobs that require technical skills and others. There's so many things that we can do to make Idaho brighter and better for the future. Idaho is a great place to live. We have so much potential, and we should be the envy of the United States. We should be the model for every other state. And that's great because Idaho is small. We're obviously a large state, but small population. So we can try new things. We can innovate. We can experiment. We can do the things that are necessary to show what's necessary for the future of Idaho. And I just don't think we've had that kind of leadership in the governor's office in a long time.
Our guest is Representative Raul Labrador, and of course now officially a candidate for governor. And you're listening to News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. We're at 9:46, almost 9:46 at 67. Bill Colley and Steve Millington in Studio 2 as well on Top Story this morning. Telephone number to reach the show, 736-0300. And I believe we have a couple of callers who are looking to speak to the representative this morning. Caller, you're on the air on KLIX with Raul Labrador. Go ahead.
Thank you for taking the call. So I just wanted to ask uh, Raul, Mr. Labrador, what he's going to do different to change things as far as making jobs, and also I'd like to ask him about his opinion on the transfer of federal lands to the state. Now, there's an opportunity where you can expand the jobs that can be had in Idaho. That we've got this federal. Uh, uh, it's a choke point on our growth, so we need to change things.
Well, we'll let the
I
congressman take that call now. Go ahead, sir.
Great, and feel free to call me Raul anytime. So that's fine. You don't have to call me Mr. Labrador, Raul. I love my name, and you can use it anytime you want. But I think he's making two very important points. I'll start with the second point. I believe that we need to make sure that we manage and we manage the federal lands that are here in the state. I actually introduced the bill in the first year that I was in Congress. That it came to me from some county commissioners that were so concerned about the percentage of federal lands that they had in their control in their counties. And what we've done is it's not transferring ownership, but transferring management. We have state management practices that are better than the federal management practices. We have more access to these lands. We have more access to the natural resources at the state level. So what we want to do is we want to transfer the management of those lands to the state managers so we can actually use our natural resources. If we want our state to grow, we can't continue to have 64% of the land here in Idaho to be out of our reach and out of our control. And I think if we have that state management, we will be able to use the natural resources that are in the land, and we can use the natural resources that we have made in the past. If you look at the growth in Idaho in the past, it all came from our natural resource industries. In fact, many, many years ago, 30, 40 years ago, some of the wealthiest counties were the counties that have the most federal land because they could use those federal lands. They could use the natural resources. It was an opportunity for the people of Idaho to take care of themselves. We don't have that opportunity anymore. So I think it's important for us to take some of that control back. Number two is it's a really important question, and it actually piggybacks on your initial question. Is what do we do specifically to bring jobs back? Well, what we need to do, people would be surprised that we have one of the most Republican legislatures in the entire United States, but yet we have some of the highest income and corporate taxes of any of our neighbors. I mean, can you imagine why is that even possible? That with one of the most Republican legislatures, we have such high income and income and corporate taxes. We need to reduce those taxes, but we also need to make sure that every Idahoan is receiving a fair share and receiving a fair shake. What we have is a tax code right now in Idaho that is riddled with loopholes for the special interest groups. Anyone who was able to afford a lobbyist or was able to afford a lawyer to go to Washington, D.C. and to go to Boise to lobby for that, for a corporate tax loophole, they were able to get them. But everyday Idahoans are not receiving those same benefits. So we need to get rid of all the loopholes that are special carve-outs for special interest groups, and we need to reduce the tax rate for every Idahoan. When we do that, you will see business growth. You will see businesses in Idaho actually taking the opportunity to develop, to start new areas of business. You will see new businesses coming to Idaho. You will see higher paying jobs doing that. I talked to a lot of CEOs in Idaho and outside of Idaho, and the number one issue they talk to me about is the education system and how they need better trained people. And the number two issue they talk to me about is the tax rate, that it's more expensive tax-wise to do business in Idaho than it is in other states.
At 9:51, our guest is Republican candidate for governor, one of several, Raul Labrador, and the telephone number to reach the program 736-0300. And caller, you're up next. You're on the air with the representative. Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, Representative Labrador. I work in the mental health sector, and I mental health system in Idaho to help those who need who need it. So we're not being the programs aren't being cut to where we have outside entities coming into the state like United Health Group and telling us that we can't go forward with our programs anymore. I'll jump off to hear your response.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Right. Good question. We have a major problem with healthcare in the United States and with the cost of health insurance and healthcare for all Idahoans. We have a problem because before Obamacare, we already had issues where the cost of healthcare was just growing at an astronomical rate. And now with Obamacare, they're growing even more. What you have is a lot of people that have health insurance, but they cannot afford things like mental health and other issues like that because their out-of-pocket costs are so high, their deductibles are so high, their insurance premiums are so high that even though they have health insurance, it's almost like they have no access to health care. So what we need to do is reduce the cost of health insurance, reduce the cost of health care, and make it more accessible and affordable for people. And you do that by getting rid of a lot of the regulations that Obamacare put in place. And we also do it by having more competition. I think the problem we had with before Obamacare is that there was not enough competition. The health insurance market was a closed market, not an open market. And you started seeing the increases that people were seeing. And that's why Congress, under Democratic rule, decided to pass Obamacare because if you remember, they promised the American people that they were not going to lose their health care, they're not going to lose their health insurance, they were not going to lose their doctors. So we need to work with that, and that will bring down the accessibility so people who have mental health issues, they can afford the health insurance that they need, and they can afford it and have access to better mental health facilities.
You obviously probably keep better track of the political social media than I do. Question I would pose this morning, and I'm seeing it a lot, and I heard it, in fact, at a couple of Memorial Day ceremonies as well this week. But a lot of people out there, I know Republicans who think the world of you, and they see you as a good alternative to maybe a more establishment candidate, and also Tommy Alquist is a bit of a wild card. But a lot of people are really torn between you and Russ Fulcher, and how can you tell these people what differentiates you? What makes you the better choice?
And so that's a great question. I think you know that I have nothing but respect for Russ. Russ and I have been friends for a long time. We served in the legislature together, and I even supported him when he ran for governor the last time. But the reality is that when you look at the data, you realize that if we want a conservative governor, I'm the one who has the best opportunity to do that. I've had the opportunity to serve in Congress. I'm well known by the people. I have a lot of support, a lot of people that are willing to help me get elected. You know, we can't do this without the volunteers. And I just have a bigger group of followers and supporters and friends and helpers. And that gives me an upper hand in a race against some pretty established candidates and people who are going to spend a lot of money. Because we cannot let anybody buy this election. We have to make sure that we do it because the people of Idaho have chosen a conservative alternative. I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a once-in-a-generation opportunity that we have to have good conservative governance here at the state. And we need to have the candidate who is best positioned to win in this race, and I think I'm that candidate.
We're down to a couple of minutes. For people who'd like to know more about the campaign, I'm sure you've got a web presence up in a number of these places where people can get more details, see some position statements, and maybe even click on that donate button too.
Absolutely. So if they go to www.raullabrador.com, they can find out about the event today in Post Falls. If you have any friends in Post Falls, let them know about that today. And tomorrow in Idaho Falls, they will give you a little bio and a little bit information. We're building that website right now, and we will be adding and developing more concepts and ideas. But we're just really excited. The support, the level of support, the level of enthusiasm has been really, really good. And I just grateful for the opportunity that I've had to serve the people of Idaho, and I hope to have the opportunity to serve them in the future as their governor.
At about 60 seconds to go, you mentioned it during the event last night. It's going to be a bit of a challenge for you time-wise because you still have another job.
I do, but I take on the challenge. You know, like, as I said last night, I can walk and chew gum at the same time. I need to do my job in Washington, D.C. I think, you know, last week I was in Washington, D.C. We passed a major bill out of the House Judiciary Committee that I sponsored that deals with immigration and local enforcement and how to make our country more safe and secure. I'm also the chairman of the Oversight Subcommittee in Natural Resources. We had a wonderful subcommittee hearing last week. So I'm working hard in Washington, D.C. for the people of my district. I can do that very well. It just means that now I have a second job, which is to run for the governorship of the state, and I can do that. I think the people are very welcoming, and every free moment that I have, I will be traveling the state with my family and my wife, who's an amazing person, and I hope that everyone has an opportunity to meet her and to get to know our story. I think we represent the past, the present, and the future of Idaho. And we want every Idahoan to have the opportunity to achieve their dreams, and we want to make a brighter future for Idaho.
Well, safe flying. We hope to talk to you again sometime soon.
Thank you so much. It's great talking to you.
You too, sir. Thank you. Representative Raul Labrador joining us this morning on News Radio 1310 KLIX, newsradio1310.com. Steve Millington, the next time I do this with him, I could get Travis Rothweiler. We'd have Rothweiler, Labrador, and Collie, and
Sound like a law firm.
change your name to Shepherd, and then we could have all the big dogs. God willing, if the creek don't rise.
Oh, boy.
They'll allow me to come back and do this all over again tomorrow morning on News Radio 1310 KLIX. In the meantime, Rush Limbaugh's program is up following news at 10 o'clock from Fox.